Okay, so we move on the discussion of blood. There are two major components of blood. That is why it's called the connective tissue. We have the non-living matrix, which is the plasma, and we already discussed about that one. And now the second one is the formed elements. So the formed elements, there are only three formed elements, no? So let's go to the formed elements. Okay, so before we discuss the formed elements, we should know how is the blood being produced. Okay, so the production of blood is called hematopoiesis. Always remember, hema means blood. Hematopoiesis, this one is a process. No? So process of producing blood is called the hematopoiesis or formation of blood. Okay, so this is called blood cell formation. But if the question is, what is the process of forming the blood? Okay, so the answer is hematopoiesis. Okay, so if they ask you in a different way of asking, maybe you cannot answer. So always remember that the blood is formed in the process of hematopoiesis. Okay, and where is it formed? It is in the red bone marrow. Bone marrow is not an answer alone, no? So it should be in the red bone marrow because we have yellow bone marrow. So very specific on the red bone marrow. Okay. And where can you find this red bone marrow? In the spongy part of the bone. Later on, we will talk about skeletal system and we will discover where is the red bone marrow. Okay? It is on the spongy part of the bone. So, especially on the flat bone, no? Sa flat bone. Where can you find flat bone? In the ribs, in the sternum, in the skull. So, if this is the flat bone, we have the hard part, no? And inside of the bone, we have these spaces called the bone marrow. So, we have this one, uh, the soft part of the bone inside. That is the bone marrow, and we should remember that it is on the red bone marrow. Okay? All blood cells are derived from a common stem cell, and this is very important to remember also. This is the mother of all, no? The mother of all blood is the hemocytoblast. Blast, it means it differentiates. Blast. Okay. Hemocytoblast. Cyto means cell. Okay. So, hemo means blood. Cell, blast. Okay. So, hemocytoblast is the mother of all the blood cell. Okay. Actually, this is a stem cell, no? So, hematocytoblast differentiate into two. Okay, so from mother cell to daughter cell, which are the lymphoid stem cell, we have two stem cell, no? From this hematocytoblast stem cell, it becomes lymphoid stem cell and myeloid stem cell. Remember these two. These two are very important. Okay, so very important in our blood. No? So hematocytoblast differentiate or becomes two, and it becomes lymphoid stem cell and myeloid stem cell. So during the production of blood, uh, the blood differentiate into two kind of stem cell. So lymphoid stem cell and myeloid stem cell. Okay. So this one produces lymphocytes. Now remember this one, huh? Lymphoid stem cell produces lymphocytes. Okay? Myeloid stem cell produces all other formed elements. So, only one for lymphoid stem cell, the rest is coming from myeloid stem. Okay, so here in the illustration, this is the mother, okay, stem cell. It becomes two during the production of blood, no? And we have the myeloid stem cell and lymphoid stem cell. Look up this one, no? Lymphoid stem cell, it produces lymphocyte. Okay? So only one. For the myeloid, we have the erythrocytes, platelets, monocytes, no, neutrophils, eosinophils, and basophils. So always remember this one, that there are two stem cell that is being produced coming from the hemocytoblast, the lymphoid stem cell and myeloid stem cell. The lymphoid stem cell produce another cell which is called lymphocytes, and the myeloid stem cell produce the other formed elements, the erythrocyte, platelets, monocyte, neutrophils, eosinophils, and basophils. So let's begin with the erythrocyte. Erythrocyte again are the RBC, okay, red blood cells. Okay, so formation of erythrocyte. If you say formation of erythrocyte, it's called erythropoiesis. Erythropoiesis. Okay, erythropoiesis, formation of erythrocyte. Okay, so erythrocytes or WBC, their characteristic is they unable to divide. No, they cannot divide, they cannot grow or synthesize protein. Wow, it's different, no? So these cells have uh, span of life, no? They can live only 100 to 120 days. In other books, they say 115 in average, no? So in the board exam, if you cannot find this 120 days and it has 115, the answer is 115. So we have 100 to 120 days. So in average, 115 days. So after the RBC will die, they will go to the spleen. Okay. That's why the spleen is considered the graveyard of the RBC. No? They are the graveyard. In Tagalog, libingan. They are the graveyard of the RBC because the characteristic of RBC is they cannot divide, grow, or synthesize protein. So there's no cell division to produce another RBC. That is why they rely on the hemocytoblast to produce again RBC. Okay, so it is where the spleen or the liver, no? So we have two. After they die, they go to the spleen, they go to the liver. Because when the RBC die, they are being recycled by the body. They are not being thrown away. They are being recycled. Okay. Lost cells are replaced by division of hemocytoblast in the red bone marrow. So if your RBC decrease in number, the body will do something. Okay, so it will release something to initiate or stimulates the bone to create another erythrocytes. No? So the rate is controlled by the hormone called erythropoietin. Okay, look at this, erythropoietin. Okay, so it's very easy, no? The hormone that stimulates the production of RBC is the erythropoietin. That is why the formation of RBC is called erythropoiesis. Okay, erythropoiesis is the production of RBC. Okay, kidneys produce most erythropoietin. So this one is very important to know. Who produce erythropoietin? It's the kidney. Okay, because the kidney is the one counting the circulating RBC in the body. If the blood goes to the kidney, remember the kidney is the one filtering the blood, no? So it goes, it passes through the apparatus called juxtaglomerulosa. Okay, so this juxtaglomerulosa, the juxtaglomerulosa, this is an apparatus that will count the RBC. So once it passes through the kidney, this one is counting tick, 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 tick. So if the RBC is not enough, it will now produce erythropoietin. Okay? So it is the one also producing the erythropoietin. And this erythropoietin will go to your bone. Okay? So it will go to your bone and stimulates the production of hemocytoblast. that will again differentiate into lymphoid and myeloid, and then it will produce the RBC. Okay? Homeostasis is maintained by negative feedback from the blood oxygen level. So, what will stimulate the kidney to produce erythropoietin? Erythropoietin is the blood oxygen level. So, if the blood oxygen level is very low, remember that the RBC is the one carrying oxygen. So, it means that RBC is also very low. But sometimes, even the RBC is high now, but the oxygen level is very low, the kidney will still produce erythropoietin to stimulate the bone to produce RBC, because RBC is the one helping to carry oxygen to the tissue. Okay, so let's rewind a little bit. No? So the RBC production is called erythropoiesis. The hormone that stimulates the RBC to produce RBC in the bone is the erythropoietin. And this erythropoietin is produced by the kidney in the juxtaglomerular apparatus. Okay, so the production of RBC is stimulated by the low blood oxygen level. So once the oxygen level is already maintained, this production of RBC will now stop, and that is called negative feedback. Okay, let's go now to the formation of the white blood cell and the platelets. Okay, so uh, white blood white blood cell is controlled by hormones. Okay, so hormones, there are two, no? Always remember this one. Colony stimulating factors. Colony stimulating factors. And interleukins prompt bone marrow to generate leukocytes. So these are now the stimulator, no? These are the hormones. Colony stimulating factor and interleukins. So what is the stimulus? Main stimulus here are pathogens or the bacteria, if there are a lot of bacteria. No? So this colony stimulating factor and interleukins will prompt the bone marrow to generate leukocytes. Okay. For the thrombopoietin, no, stimulates the production of platelet. Platelet production is stimulated by bleeding. No? So, and a decrease clotting factor, or decrease if there's a massive bleeding that is happening. Okay, the platelets are being produced, and the hormone that produces this one is thrombopoietin. Okay, so always remember that what is the hormone that stimulates the production of RBC is the erythropoietin. The process of production of RBC is erythropoiesis. For the stimulus of the WBC is colony stimulating factor and interleukins, and for the platelet is thrombopoietin. Okay, thrombo means blood clot. Thrombo, blood clot. So to create blood clot, thrombopoietin. Okay, so so homeostasis for the blood, no? Homostasis. Homostasis. Homo means blood. Stasis means stability or equilibrium in the blood. Okay, so this is stoppage of bleeding resulting from a break in the blood vessel, which is called homostasis. So, in your body, if your blood vessel is being break, the body will repair itself. No? So, the blood is the one preventing or curing this or maintaining this homeostasis. So, it's the one who is making the healing of this blood vessel if they are break, no? And if the blood vessel are break, somebody is very allergic to it, no? We have the platelets, which is very important in our uh, maintaining our homeostasis. So homeostasis involves three phases. We have the vascular spasm, we have the plug formation, and the coagulation. So we have three, no? We have three phases. For the vascular spasm, if you say vascular, blood vessel, spasm is the constriction of the blood vessel, wherein the blood vessel becomes narrow. No? And then plate plug, the platelet goes to the break. You know, they go to the break to plug it, and coagulation, meaning there will be blood clotting on that break to stop the bleeding. Okay. So let's now continue about formed elements. Okay, so again, there are only three formed elements. We have the erythrocyte or the red blood cell, we have the leukocytes or WBC, and we have the platelets or the cell fragments. So for the erythrocytes or the red blood cell, one most important thing to remember here is the shape. We already know that it carries the oxygen, no? Because it contains hemoglobin. Okay, so it contains hemoglobin. But what is the shape? This is an ABC to us, no? In nursing, you should already know what is the shape of the RBC. Biconcave. It is concave here, at the back concave, no? If I draw it on the side view, it's like this, no? Ganyan. So it's like this. So concave, concave. Okay, that's why it's called biconcave. Two concave is biconcave. So that is the shape of our RBC, no? Biconcave discs. It is this. Actually, the RBC is flexible. The characteristic of this one is flexible. That is why it can go to the smallest blood vessel, which are the capillaries. So they can go there, okay, because they can flex. Okay, it is flexible, and remember that the shape is biconcave. Why? Because this is very important because RBC are carriers. So this serves as their container. No? We have the oxygen here on this side, carbon dioxide on the other side, waste product here, okay, and here is the material needed for the cells. That's why the shape is like this now. Okay, so another description is essentially bags of hemoglobin. So inside the RBC are hemoglobin, and this hemoglobin are protein that contains hemoglobin ion, which is important in carrying the oxygen. Okay, that's why it's the oxygen carrying of the blood. Okay, see, is the hemoglobin. And another description of this one is anucleate, meaning A means absent. Anucleate. There's no nucleus. That's why they cannot regenerate. No, they cannot produce proteins, and they cannot divide, and they die 100 to 120 days. Okay, so that's the reason why. No, contain very few organelles. Konti lang organelles nga. They have a little organelles. Okay? And this one, 5 million RBC per cubic millimeter of blood. Okay, how can you measure the cubic millimeter of blood? Sir, what is a cubic millimeter of blood? It is one drop of blood. Okay, so one drop of blood is per cubic millimeter of blood. Imagine, inside the one drop of blood, it contains 5 million RBC. Okay? So there are a lot of RBC inside. That's why the most numerous formed elements in the body is our RBC. Okay, if you remember on the centrifuge, no, it goes down. Okay, so if you look at the microscope, no, in a slide, uh, it's better if we have the laboratory, we can see it in the slides in the microscope. And actually, this is the slide that you can see, no, through microscope. The RBC are this one. These are the RBC. This one. So if you look at the ratio of the RBC from the other formed elements, they are very numerous comparing to the numbers. No, these are the lymphocyte. neutrophils, okay, and these are the platelets, the fragments, cell fragments. Okay, so if you look at this one, RBC are really numerous. Okay, they are very numerous. So if you look at the blood components in the slides, you can already determine the RBC, no? Okay. So inside the RBC, hemoglobin is living there, no? This is the most important thing in RBC, and it is always being talked about. Okay, they say if the hemoglobin does not contain oxygen, it's called deoxyhemoglobin, and if it contains oxygen, it's called oxyhemoglobin. Okay, you know that one already, huh? Oxyhemoglobin, deoxyhemoglobin. It was discussed, I think, in our circulatory system. No? So if it lacks oxygen, deoxyhemoglobin. If it has oxygen, oxyhemoglobin. The most important thing here in the hemoglobin is that it contains iron containing protein. This one, okay, this is the hemi group. This one. So this is the one. No? Okay. So it contains, at the middle, it contains iron. And what's the color of iron is red. That's why the blood is red. No, that's why if you are anemic, the color of your lips and your palm is pale because you lack RBC, no? And you lack iron. So they will give you an iron supplement so that you will become pink. Okay, so because this one is red and iron loves oxygen. Okay, so bind strongly but reversibly to oxygen. Okay, this is the most important characteristic of this one. No? So it binds strongly to oxygen but reversibly also. Okay, so once the hemoglobin reaches the tissue, they will still release this oxygen because of the process of diffusion, no? Where from higher concentration to lower concentration. So when the oxygen reaches the tissue, in which the tissue is lesser concentration than the blood, the oxygen will go up. That's why it is also reversibly binds strongly but reversibly to oxygen. Okay, so in hemoglobin, what you always should remember is the iron. It contains iron, and iron binds strongly to oxygen but reversibly also. Okay, so let's summarize. No, hemoglobin is living inside the RBC, and the hemoglobin contains iron-containing protein, and this iron-containing protein binds strongly but reversibly to oxygen. Okay, so here each hemoglobin molecules has four binding sites. Look at the composition of the hemoglobin. No? There are four chains of protein. So these are protein. One, two, three, four. We have we have four chain of protein. Okay, and each protein, it has this hemoglobin. Hemoglobin. It has this hemoglobin molecule of the binding site. This is the binding site. Ah, so hemoglobin contains four globulin or globin, which is protein, contains four protein, and inside this one has binding site. So if you have four oxygen binding site in a hemoglobin. Okay. So how many binding site in a hemoglobin? There are four. Okay. Look at this. Okay, so each erythrocyte has 250 million hemoglobin. Remember the amount of RBC in one drop of blood is 5 million. So in an RBC, it contains 250 million hemoglobin of molecules. Okay? And its hemoglobin has 4 binding site. Okay, so how many binding site in its erythrocyte? Oh, so 1 billion, one erythrocyte only. So that's too many, no? So there are 1 billion binding site in one erythrocyte because in one erythrocyte it contains 250 million hemoglobin. Okay, so the normal blood contains to 12 to 18 grams of hemoglobin per 100 ml of blood. Imagine that. So there are a lot of hemoglobin inside our body. Okay? So homeostatic imbalance of RBC. One is anemia. Okay, in a decrease in oxygen carrying ability of the blood. Remember this one. Decrease in oxygen carrying ability of the blood, meaning you have decreased hemoglobin, no? And then sickle cell anemia result from abnormal shape of hemoglobin, abnormally shaped hemoglobin. Okay, if you have sickle cell anemia, this is very dangerous disease, no? This is a congenital disease or inherited or genetic problem, no? So remember the shape of the RBC is spherical shape or round, no? What the shape of the RBC is like this. It's sickled. Okay. If they are exposed to a very low oxygen level, their RBC sickled. That's why it's called sickle cell anemia. They sickle, okay, and they have a decreased capability of carrying oxygen already. So here, if they are exposed in the low oxygen level, they might die. That's why people with sickle cell anemia do not bring them into high altitude wherein there is an oxygen deprivation. They will die. That's why they cannot live in higher places like Baguio. Okay. Polycythemia is an excessive abnormal increase in the number of erythrocytes. Poly means many. Polycythemia means many erythrocytes. Okay, so your erythrocyte number is too much. Okay, remember the 5 million only in one drop of blood. Okay, so here in the illustration, the RBC is like this, no? It's a biconcave spherical shape, okay, of the RBC. But once they were exposed in a very low oxygen level, no, they become sickled. So sickled RBC and its hemoglobin sequence. Okay. Polycythemia, poly means many, no? Disorder resulting from excessive abnormal may be caused by bone marrow cancer, okay, and may be response to life at higher altitude, secondary to polycythemia, and increased RBC slows blood flow and increased blood viscosity. So that's why it's very dangerous, no? If you have too much RBC, your blood becomes viscous. Meaning ng viscous is malapot. Okay. So, it will become viscous or malapot. Okay, and it's dangerous. Okay, let's go to the next formed elements. It's the leukocytes or the WBC. As I have said, do not forget the name of the WBC, no? Leukocytes. Okay. Leukocytes. Do not forget this one. It's an ABC to us. Leukocyte. Okay, so crucial in body's defense against disease. So they are the soldier of our body. They defend us in our uh, encounter to bacteria and foreign body. So against disease. That's why they are called soldiers of the body, the WBC, no? These are complete cells with a nucleus and organelles. Yan, with the nucleus and organelles, able to move in and out of the blood vessel. This is a special characteristic of the leukocytes. Okay, so this one is always being asked, no? This process that they are doing. Remember, they are living in the blood. But foreign body, no, when they invade us, they do not stay in the blood. So how can they help us? They can get out from the blood vessel by this process, diapedesis. They are able to move in out from the blood vessel. So moving in and out from the blood vessel is called diapedesis. Okay, so remember this one. No? Okay, they can move by amoeboid motion. Okay, so what motion they do in the diapedesis can respond to chemicals released by damaged tissue. So if the tissue is damaged, all our tissue that is damaged will release chemicals. Okay, in order to call the WBC. Okay, they will call the WBC, and the WBC will go directly to the site of damage. Okay, and they will do something to help us. Okay, protect us and heal us. So for the leukocytes, okay, so this is one important thing. In one drop of blood per cubic millimeter of blood, 4,000 to 4,800 to 10,800 WBC. So more than this one, it means infection. So increasing WBC means infection. So during your duty, no, so if your patient is having an infection, always go to the lab result, go to the CBC, and you can find the WBC, no, and RBC. You can find them. So if you're have an infection in your patient have an infection during your assessment, do not stop on the physical assessment, but also go to the history of the patient and go to the chart and look at the CBC and look at the WBC. Look at the value. So if you can see the value, you can say now that there is infection. Okay, so one thing more, if there is an infection, there is fever. So if there is a fever, there is infection. So remember that the WBC secretes the pyrogen, the pyrogen that will set the hypothalamus, the thermoregulating center of our body, and temperature will increase. Okay, so here are the diseases, no? Or abnormalities in the leukocytes. So abnormal numbers of leukocytes. Leukocytosis, WBC count is above 11,000. Okay. So if there are high, no, it's called leukocytosis. Okay. Generally indicates an infection. So if you have infection, you will say there is leukocytosis. Okay. If there's infection, you can say there is a leukocytosis. Okay. So types of leukocytes or types of WBC. I always mentioning this one, so that you can remember. Types of leukocytes or WBC. First is the granulocytes. If you say granulocytes, you can see granules. Okay. When you examine them, you can see granules. That's why they are called granulocytes. Granules in the cytoplasm can be stained. Okay, so if they will be stained, lagyan ng kulay, no? Makikita mo yung granules nila. So, when they are being stained, granules are present, they can be seen. Okay. Possesses lobe nuclei. Yeah. Meron silang lobe. Okay. Includes neutrophils, eosinophils, and basophils. So, in the granulocytes, these are the WBC. We have 3 WBC here. Always remember that one. Contains granule when they stain and they have lobe nuclei. Okay, so we have 3 granulocytes. We have the neutrophils, eosinophils, and basophils. 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. Okay, so next, the granulocytes. Okay, so lack visible cytoplasmic granules. Okay, so This is the description. That's why they are called agranulocytes. Absence means lack. Wala. No visible cytoplasmic granules. Okay. Nuclei are spherical, oval, or kidney shaped. Okay. A while ago, it's lobe. This one is spherical, round, or oval, or kidney shaped. Okay. Includes lymphocytes and monocytes. So, agranulocytes, we have two. Okay. Two, we have the lymphocytes and the monocytes. So, we have two WBC here. That's why the total of WBC in the body are 5, no? Okay, so in order to easily memorize our WBC, so this is our code. Never let monkeys eat bananas. So here, we will notice that we have 5 WBC, no? We have 3 granulocytes, 2 agranulocytes, no? So, never let monkeys eat banana. If we want to know which is the most abundant, we use this code. And which is the least, we use this code. So, never let monkeys eat banana. So, the most numerous among the WBC is the neutrophils. And the least is the bananas. Okay, so let's go back here so that we can analyze more the WBC or the leukocytes. No? So, from here, okay, so all blood originates from the hemocytoblast, and this one differentiate into two, myeloid and lymphoid. You will notice that one of the WBC, no? One, and then we have two, no? And then we have three, we have four, okay, and we have five. Okay. You will notice that the WBC came from two stem cell, from myeloid stem cell and from lymphoid stem cell. Okay, so the lymphoid stem cell produce these lymphocytes and the rest comes from the myeloid. So if the question is which of the WBC is produced from lymphoid, it's the lymphocyte and the rest are produced by the myeloid stem cell. And remember, these two are no agranulocytes. Okay, if you look at this one, if they are being stained, you can see the granules. These three, no, these three. Oh, you can see the granules of these three. That's why they are called granulocytes. These two, you cannot find granules. No granules. That's why they are called agranulocytes. These are the granules. You can see this one. These are the granules. You can see here, here. These are the granules. So when they are being stained, their granules are being seen. Okay. So that's why they are called granules. And this one is agranulocytes. Okay. So remember that the lymphocyte originates from lymphoid stem cell, and the rest of the WBC originates from myeloid stem cell. They are granulocytes because when they are stained, you can see the granules or the cytoplasmic organelles, while the lymphocytes and monocytes, are considered agranulocytes because when they are stained, you cannot see the granules or their cytoplasmic organelles. Okay, let's continue about the granulocytes. Okay, so first granulocyte is the neutrophil. Okay, so we all know that this one is the most numerous, no? And cytoplasm stains pale. So if you look at the color, they are pale, no? Pale pink, and contains fine granules. Okay, sa kanila yung fine granules. Deep purple nucleus contains 3 or 7 lobes. Remember that the granulocytes contains lobes. So these are the lobes. Okay, so this one contains 3 to 7 lobes. Okay. What is important to know about neutrophils is the action that the neutrophils do. Okay, actually the neutrophils is the first one to go to the site of infection, first to fight. Okay, they are the first to fight. They are the first one to go to the site of infection. So function as phagocytes. If you say phagocyte, phagocytosis is eating, no? They eat foreign materials or antigen that is being produced by the foreign body at the active sites of infection. Okay, so this is one of the major function of the neutrophils. Okay, so this one is very important for us to memorize. So this one is very important for us to memorize, no? So the phagocytes at the sites of infection. Now we know that neutrophils are the one eating. Okay, so because they are phagocyte, they are eating antigens in the site of infection. That's why they are the most numerous because they are the first one to attack. Okay, so numbers increase during infection. So the normal is 3,000 to 7,000. So if you will have your duty, go again to the CBC, go to the chart, read the CBC, and go to the neutrophils. And if you can see this one, meaning the neutrophils are very active if they were increased, there will be infection. Yeah. Okay, so neutrophils in cubic millimeter of blood, 40 to 70% of the WBC because this is the most numerous. Okay, another one is eosinophils. Eosinophils, the red coarse cytoplasmic organelles. So magaspang yung okay. So this one, okay, the cytoplasmic organelles. Figure 8 or bilobe. Figure 8 yung kanya, no? Bilobe. Eosinophils. Bilobe. Okay, so figure of 8 and nucleus stains blue-red. So blue-red. The color is blue-red. Okay, so what are the function of these eosinophils? So the function is to kill parasitic worms. So if you will have tapeworm, hookworm in your body, they will be the one attacking your parasitic worms and play a role in allergic attack. So if the question is if you are having allergies to pollens, who will be uh, who will be attacking those allergens? No, so it is the eosinophils. So remember, there are two major important function of these eosinophils: kill parasitic worms and play a role in the allergic attack. Okay, the amount is 100 to 400 eosinophils in a cubic millimeter of blood. Okay, so here we should memorize this one, no? Kill parasitic worms and play a role in allergic attacks. Eosinophils. Okay, so basophils. Okay, so the most important thing here is this one. So after the neutrophils will go to the site of infection, the basophils will go there to enhance healing. No? They will enhance healing. Okay, sparse but large blue purple granules. Okay, so ayan. The granules are big and they are blue. Look at the granules. U or S-shaped nucleus stains dark blue. S-shaped naman siya. S-shaped basophils. S-shaped. Okay, so release histamine. This is the important thing that they release. No? Histamine. Okay, this substance or chemical substance is a vasodilator. If you say vaso means blood vessel, dilator, dilates the blood in the site of infection. That would promote healing. Because if the blood vessel will dilate, okay, more blood will go there and give nutrients to the damaged cell or tissue. Okay, they contain anticoagulant. Okay, so this one contains heparin. Heparin, anticoagulant. Okay. Meaning it prevents clotting. No? Since it is a vasodilator, it helps the blood to move and also it prevents the blood to clot so that the blood can move in the tissue. Okay, that's why they contain heparin. Heparin, warfarin, aspirin. Yan, heparin, warfarin, aspirin. That's why if you, this one can cause bleeding, no? Heparin can cause bleeding because it doesn't let the blood to coagulate or to form a thrombus, no? So, or to form a clot. So, if you are having ulcer and you are having pain, do not take aspirin as your pain reliever because it will cause further damage, no? Because it would let your ulcer bleed. Okay, and later on you will have upper gastrointestinal bleeding and you will vomit blood. Okay, so do not take heparin if you have ulcer. Heparin or aspirin is very important to decrease viscosity of the blood. Okay, that's why some of the people diagnosed with stroke or hypertension are being given with aspirin to decrease viscosity of the blood. Okay, so it contains, the blood contains 20 to 50 basophils in a cubic millimeter of blood. Okay, so that's very important. Okay, so let's go now to agranulocytes. There are only two. One is the lymphocyte. So we have the lymphocytes. Okay, originate from lymphoid stem cell. So only one, no? Cytoplasm is pale blue. Okay, so this is the cytoplasm, and the nucleus is dark blue. Yeah, the nucleus is very big. Okay, lymphocyte function. This is the most important thing. Part of the immune response. Okay, so among the WBC, the lymphocyte is the one that is part of the immune response. So if they ask you what is the WBC responsible for the immune response, is the lymphocytes. It's not the leukocytes. Huh? Leukocyte is the general term for WBC. So what WBC play a role in the immune response? It's the lymphocyte. So we have two lymphocytes. We have the B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes. Okay? And the most important thing to remember here is the B lymphocyte is the one making the antibodies. Okay, the one that make the antibodies is called the plasma cells, and they are also B lymphocyte. Plasma cells and B lymphocytes are the same. No? So when you talk about WBC, okay, so because once the WBC or once the B cell clone during infection, two is produced. Okay, one is the plasma cell, the other one is the memory cell. And the plasma cell is the one producing the antibodies. Later on, we will talk about that one when we go to the lymphatic system and body defenses. So, T lymphocytes are involved in graft rejection. If you say T lymphocyte, they are very specific to cell that is infected. So, we have fighting the tumor, graft rejection, and viruses and cancer cell because they are the one fighting specifically on the cell that is not ours. So if we have cell inside our body, because just like the tumor, no, they are these cells are mutated cells, which means that they are different kinds of cell already. So they are infected cell. So the one that who will fight this one is the T lymphocytes. And also if we have viruses that go inside our body, they will fight these virus cells. Okay? And the cancer cell. Okay, so we have the number is 1,500 to 3,000 in a cubic millimeter. Okay. Monocytes. The second one is the monocytes. Okay, so the second granulocyte is the monocytes. If you remember the monocyte, they are the largest, no? They are the largest because they are eating. Among the WBC, the largest are the one who eats. Okay, neutrophils are also phagocytes, but this one are large phagocytes. That's why their name is macrophages. Okay, so largest of the WBC, gray-blue cytoplasm. So this is their cytoplasm. No, dark blue purple nucleus. If you look at the nucleus, okay, and it's open a kidney shape. So kidney shape. Okay, so function as macrophages, meaning giant phagocytes. So they are giant phagocytes. Important in fighting chronic infection and around 100 to 700 monocytes per cubic millimeter of blood. Okay, so 48% of the WBC. The one thing that you are going to remember this one is their tag name, monocytes, macrophages. Okay, monocytes, macrophages. Because later on you will not hear the monocytes. You can hear only the macrophages. So macrophages originate from monocytes. They are the largest WBC in our body. Okay, so that is the most important thing that you should know. Okay, let's get to the third okay, formed elements, platelets. Okay, derived from ruptured nucleate cells, megakaryocytes. Ito naman yung nickname niya. This is the nickname na. Megakaryocytes. Okay, needed for blood clotting. Okay, clotting process. This is very important. No, in platelet, what you should remember is the function, clotting process to prevent bleeding. No, so the blood will clot, and in order to clot this blood, you need the platelet. Okay, so in a scenario, what is the most common scenario here is the when your patient is having dengue fever. In dengue fever, no, this is caused by the mosquito, no, Aedes aegypti, Aedes aegypti mosquito, female mosquito, with tiger skin mosquito, usually found in urban areas also. Usually found in urban areas, and the larvae live in a clean, stagnant water. Okay, so if you are bitten with this kind of mosquito, your platelet count decrease. Okay, and the problem is your clotting process. Okay, so you will bleed, and some of patients die. So there are so many patients that die with the dengue fever. So, if your patient is having the dengue fever, this is the one that you are going to monitor. Oh, remember that one. Huh? If you talk about dengue fever, the one that you are going to monitor is the platelet. So you go to the CBC, a complete blood count, and check the platelet count. Okay, so if the platelet count goes down, it's dangerous. Okay, you might die. No, you might bleed. That's why most of the patients that are having this dengue fever, there will be blood transfusion of pure platelet. Nakita mo, pure platelet ang ilalagay. Okay, so platelet count ranges from 150,000 to 400,000. So this is the range, no? 300,000 is considered a normal number of platelet per cubic millimeter. So look at this. If you are having dengue, this one goes down. Oh, sometimes it goes to 50. Those people are very dangerous already. They have that kind of platelet count. They may die because platelet uh, is very responsible for clotting process. Okay, so these are fragments, cell fragments. So let us review about homeostasis. Okay, so the role of the platelet here, no. As we have said, the homeostasis is the blood stability, no. So there should be stability inside. So this is stoppage of bleeding resulting from a break in a blood vessel. So what will happen if a blood vessel break? No, homeostasis involves three phases: the vascular spasm. Vascular means blood vessel spasm, platelet plug formation, and coagulation or blood clotting. So, in vascular spasm, vasoconstriction causes blood vessel to spasm. So, there will be vasoconstriction, meaning the blood vessel will constrict, narrow the lumen, and cause the blood vessel to spasm. So, when the lumen is decreased, there will be spasm. No? Spasm narrow the blood vessel and decreasing the blood loss. So, if there will be a break, there will be spasm. There will be a decrease in blood loss. Okay, so you look at this break. No, this is the break. We have a break. Okay, this is dangerous. So look at the lumen inside. There's a break. Okay, so what will happen is the smooth muscle contracts, causing vasoconstriction. So the blood vessels are made up of smooth muscle. Okay, controlled by the sympathetic nervous system. It will constrict. Okay, so that this will narrow down. This one will narrow and blood will stop. Okay, so number two, we have the platelet plug formation. No? Collagen fibers are exposed in a break in a blood vessel. So if collagen fibers are being exposed, okay, the one that is being stimulated here is the platelet. Okay, so the platelet will be stimulated to go to the site of the collagen fiber. So if the collagen fiber are exposed by a break in the blood, platelet becomes sticky. So these platelets become sticky, okay, and cling to the fiber. So they will cling to the collagen fiber. So platelets are labs to go to collagen fiber. They will stick to them. So magic, no? So once this is break, collagen fiber is exposed. Here comes the platelet. Ah, collagen fiber. So they will go immediately to the collagen fiber. They become sticky and clings to the collagen fiber. Okay? Anchored platelets release chemicals. So this when they are anchored here, they will release chemicals to attract more platelets. So if one platelet goes there, it will call a friend by releasing chemicals. Ding, 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 platelet, platelet, come here. There is a breakage. Okay, so they will go there and platelets pile up to form a platelet plug. So they will pile up, pile. Okay, so if there's a breakage. So injury to the lining vessel exposes collagen fibers. Okay, so platelets adhere. So here comes platelet and it will send signal. So chemicals are released, making nearby platelets sticky and platelet plug forms. So they will now go there. So they will now form a platelet plug. Look at the damage. Look at the break. It's being plugged by platelet. Okay, so it was plugged by the platelet. And next is coagulation will now happen. Okay, so injured tissue release tissue factor. Okay, and another one is PF3, a phospholipid, interacts with tissue factor and blood protein clotting factor and calcium ions to trigger clotting cascade. So look at the calcium here. Okay, so how many ingredients do we have? One, two, three, four. So there are four ingredients needed for the healing or coagulation. So we have the tissue factor, we have the PF3, and we have the protein clotting factor and the calcium. Remember, calcium also is important in the blood clotting. It's not only important for the bone and the muscle to move, but also important in the blood clotting. So we can see now the third function of the calcium in the body. It is used for blood clotting also. Okay, so trigger a clotting cascades and then prothrombin activator converts thrombin to prothrombin to thrombin. Okay, an enzyme. So the prothrombin activator So this is the prothrombin. It will activate the prothrombin to become thrombin. So prothrombin activator converts prothrombin to thrombin. So the mixture of these four becomes a prothrombin activator that will convert prothrombin to thrombin. Oh, so we need to activate the thrombin to become the prothrombin to become thrombin by combining all these elements. So when these four elements are being combined, the prothrombin are being activated to form thrombin, an enzyme. So that's not yet the end. So produce thrombin. So this thrombin joins the fibrinogen proteins into hair-like molecules of insoluble fibrin. So this thrombin plus fibrinogen protein produces now fibrin. Okay, so what we need is to make a fibrin. Okay, and fibrin forms a meshwork, the basis of clot. So to combine the four elements, we are now activating the prothrombin. When the prothrombin is being activated, it becomes the thrombin, and this thrombin now will join the fibrinogen proteins to form fibrin. Okay, to form fibrin to create clot. Ayun pala. So, coagulation events. Clotting factor present in the plasma and released by the injured tissue cells interact with calcium to form thrombin. Okay, so it will activate the prothrombin to become thrombin. The enzyme that catalyzes joining the fibrinogen molecules into fibrin, in the plasma into fibrin. So, you need to make thrombin to join them with the fibrinogen. And this joining of thrombin and fibrinogen will now cause fibrin. Okay, will form the clot. So fibrin forms a mesh that traps the red blood cells and platelets forming the clot. Okay, so fibrin is a mesh. Okay, a mesh. Parang banig, no? It's a mesh. It's a trap. It's a mesh that traps the red blood cell and platelets forming a clot. Ang haba ng kwento. Okay, so there are four ingredients to activate the prothrombin. So prothrombin activator to create thrombin, and then this thrombin will now join fibrinogen to create fibrin. And this fibrin forms a mesh to trap the RBC and the platelet forming the clot. So that is the most ingredient. Gagawa ka pala ng mesh. In order to create mesh, you need the four ingredients. Combine them together to activate the prothrombin to become thrombin. And this thrombin now um, will join the fibrinogen to create fibrin, and this fibrin will form the mesh to trap the RBC and the platelet. Okay, so they are being trapped, and that is the clot. Okay, and blood usually clots in 3 to 6 minutes. Okay, this is very important to us. No? 3 to 6 minutes. Okay, so if your clotting factor are decreased, this will increase, causing more problem, bleeding, because your blood does not clot. Okay? The clot remains as endothelium regenerates. So, the blood clot will remain there, no, until the endothelium will regenerate. Hanggang gumaling, the endothelium will regenerate. Okay, the clot is broken down after tissue repair. So, when the endothelium is already repaired, no, and the tissue is being repaired already, that's the time that the clot will be broken down and healing happens. Okay, so undesirable clot. Yes, clotting is important, but there are undesirable clots that would uh, uh, endanger people's lives. No? Thrombus, a clot in unbroken blood vessel. So, if your blood vessel is unbroken but there is clot inside, it's called thrombus. Okay, can be deadly in areas like heart. So, if you have blood clot in your carotid artery here, it causes obstruction of blood flow to your heart, and it will cause angina or MI or angina. So that is very dangerous, no? Embolus, a thrombus that breaks away and floats freely in the bloodstream, can later lag on blood vessel in critical areas such as brain. So if your blood clot, okay, detach from the blood vessel, it's called now embolus. This is a traveling clot. Okay, so traveling. It travels, no? It is traveling clot, and it's very dangerous, especially if it goes to your brain or into your lungs. You will die immediately. For the brain, it can damage the brain, and you will have paralyzed. You will become paralyzed, and it's called stroke, no? So it's very dangerous. Thrombus is a clot that is stationary on the blood vessel. It is not traveling. Embolus is a clot that is traveling. Okay, that's the difference between the two. Both of them are clots, blood clot. Okay, so the more dangerous is the embolus. This is also dangerous if the location is on the critical area, just like in here in the carotid artery. No, it will now decrease the blood supply to the heart. Okay, thrombocytopenia. This is also a bleeding disorder. Platelet deficiency. Okay, cytopenia. Pag sinabi mong pinya, decrease, no? Okay, even normal movements can cause bleeding from a small blood vessel that requires platelet clotting. Okay, so of course, if you have deficiency in platelet, there will be bleeding. So even a small movements, that's why they are not allowed to play combat sports, no, and hard sports, because if you have thrombocytopenia, you will bleed. Hemophilia, hereditary bleeding disorder. Normally, clotting factors are missing. This is hereditary naman, no?